Welcome to Play Misty for You. Tonight I watched the Cowboys lose to the Detroit Lions while watching Victoria, Masterpiece Theater, about Queen Victoria on Netflix. The loss was miserable. I want Dak to get a Super Bowl so bad. He deserves a ring. One problem with watching Queen Victoria, or just Victoria, on a loop for the last 48 hours is I have now submersed myself into that language, into that cadence. A friend texted me yesterday about something, and I said, I do hope I wasn't. What did I say? I do hope I wasn't a distraction. I'm so looking forward. What? So I think Nikki would be proud of me with a Cowboys/Victoria evening while putting up my tree. Thank you very much. I became hooked on the Cowboys in '76 when we moved to Dallas. Nikki and I every Sunday could be found in front of the TV watching Ed Too Tall Jones, Hollywood Henderson, Tom Landry, our coach, with his fedora and trench coat and stern face, while the Cowboys just won. I think my favorite commercial was the Steelers in the, what do they call that? It's not the hallway. It's where they all come out. And yeah, it was the little kid and he's giving him a Pepsi. Was it a Pepsi? Yeah, I should really know this. But obsessed with my Cowboys. And she also woke me up at 4:30 in the morning when Princess Diana got married to Charles, and watched that with the same enthusiasm as we watched our Cowboys. I didn't really realize growing up that it was unusual for a girl and her single mom, no dad, no brothers, no sisters, to be watching football. But I've been a lifelong fan. Love my boys, even when they lose. I just get Dak a ring, for God's sake. I am grateful today to have such a character as mother, but definitely not grateful while growing up with such a character. Nikki, there were no molds that Nikki was intent on fitting in with. She broke all the molds. She got bigger than any mold for any mom whatsoever. Because of her aforementioned myasthenia gravis, they put her on prednisone, which had her gain 100 pounds in 1 year. She went from being out on a regular basis to all of a sudden being at home. And I don't think much really made her happy besides food. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, the woman liked to eat. She liked to eat and smoke pot. And smoking pot doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but growing up in the 80s in Texas, it felt like the SWAT team was going to burst in our house at any moment. There were hoodlums that snuck around the school and pot. The police would come for them and they'd go to jail. Then I'd go home and I have a mom smoking pot. I really couldn't process couldn't process it. But Home Fries, she loved her pot. She loved it so much. She loved it so much that one night I had a party, junior high party, and invited all the kids. It was very popular. We're having Bartles and James out in the garage. Definitely Madonna was playing somewhere in the background. One of the boys showed up with a bag full of weed. Everyone could be seen smoking it except for me, because I never had an affinity for it. Once your mom does something, it doesn't seem as appealing. Nikki came out, smelled it, confiscated his bag of weed. She did give it back to him at the end, and on Monday, he swore up and down that half of it was missing, to which I was just appalled that he would accuse my mother of such things. But of course, Nikki took half of my junior high friend's weed. Of course she did. Then when I was in high school, the guy I was seeing, I think he was already out of high school. I don't know. But come to find out, he was Nikki's dealer. Yeah. Not fun. Finding out like 6 months in that your boyfriend is also selling your mom weed. But like, you don't get a ton of characters anymore. A ton of so meant for everybody to like fall in line and be sheep instead of march to the beat of your own drum, because you're going to be odd. You're going to be judged, maybe ostracized for not falling in line with social norms. And it's homogenized. Yet I can definitely say that I grew up with a true character. The hard part is learning about trauma and how that shapes people's response and people's reactions. How probably many of the characters we had previously, a lot of it is adaptation of growing up in unsafe or survival ways. So your personality develops traits that keep you surviving. And he was adopted. I mean, I went to therapy with my grandmother, and the most horrific stories of how my grandmother grew up, which all of a sudden made sense as to how Nikki grew up, which all of a sudden makes sense as to how I grew up. But each time I can see that there's a breaking down of the trauma inflicted on the child. I mean, from what my grandmother went through to how my child was raised, we've broken generational trauma. This knowledge also informs how I watch Real Housewives. It's absolutely ruined it for me. I did call my mom Nikki starting at around 11, 12, whatever year E.T. came out. That came out in 82. So I was around 11 years old. Nikki and I went to the kids' store that was next to Lord & Taylor in North Park. And we're in the dressing room. I was just trying out calling Nikki by her first name. And it was not going well. I'd been doing it for the last few weeks. She kept correcting me every single time. I am your mother. Do not call me that. She didn't really act like a mother. And I think that was it. I was like, well, if you're not going to act like a mom, you will go by your surname. That was my little way to try and either get her in line or manage my expectations of what kind of parenting we were in store for. It was going to be Misty and Nikki, not so much mummy and daughter. I'm at the children's clothing store. That was another thing. Nikki, when she would get upset, she would want to go shopping. Who can't relate to that? It makes you feel good. If she got upset with my stepdad or with one of her friends, we would go shopping, and we would go shopping for me because Nikki did not like the weight she was at. But me, I was a doll that she could dress. So I definitely benefited from this. I think I would start arguments as I got older. You know what he said? Cut to us in the car going to Miller's Outpost. Was that a thing? Just came in my head. Okay. So we're there. I think we were going to see E.T. And I asked Nikki for something when the sales girl was in the dressing room. I said, Nikki, will you get me blah, blah, blah? The sales girl said, are you two sisters? I started laughing so hard. Nikki said, no, why do you ask? She goes, because she called you Nikki. The sales girl laughed, and Nikki said, you can call me Nikki whenever you want. After that, I was able to just call my mother Nikki. Years later, we started calling her Shiny Nikki. That woman always had a bauble. She had a rhinestone on every single finger. She was Shiny Nikki. The bigger she got, the more attention she drew to herself. It wasn't like, I'm going to get bigger. Let me dress demure. It was more like, I'm bigger, so bigger print, bigger flowers, bigger rhinestones, bigger Nikki, shiny Nikki. As much as I gave that woman a hard time growing up, for giving me a hard time growing up, she gives me material for days, because Home Fries was smart, funny, eccentric, and definitely could have benefited from the ACA program. Here was one. Had a crush on this guy named Ramsey. Ramsey was the one who got us to move to Dallas, saying that it was on Tuesday night what Oklahoma City was on a Saturday night. And she crushed on him so hard, I'd have to help her clean the house because Ramsey was coming over. And many times Ramsey would not show up, and Nikki would cry on my shoulder. But she was asking me something about, like, do you think Ramsey likes this? And if we go and if we're I'm like, I'm 6, lady. Really, I don't really understand the intricacies of adult relationships yet, but hats off to you, bestie. Like, best of luck. Well, Mummy, wherever you are, pretty sure you made it to heaven. I hope you're watching down and enjoying my Victoria / Dallas Cowboys evening. And can you do something about them making the playoffs? Because I would very much appreciate that. As always, our sponsor is OtisIncLA.com. Use code Misty today to upgrade your shipping from ground to 2-day air. Because when you need that lug nut, you need it ASAP. Do you like it? I like it. All right. Thanks so much. Also, please email me questions, comments, concerns at pmfy@mistymcafee.com. See you tomorrow.